Hi, everyone. I am Stephen for a reason, and this is the RCN Show. And I'm very pleased to be here. It's been a while since the last episode that we did. Today's a very special show. We have a ton of exciting updates and announcements coming up soon as Realtors Choice Network. Been sort of holding back from doing some of these shows just to getting a few things done and prepared. And just thrilled to be live again today with my special guest. I can't wait to get to it, and we will right away. I just want to talk a little bit about the Realtors Choice Network. And, you know, a lot of people get confused. Realtors Choice Network, what does that mean, Stephen? Well, it's a business network. Now, locally here, and my guest, obviously, you're going to find out, is very local as well. He's actually family. But generally speaking, the Realtors Choice Network is servicing over 142 cities. And what it means, we have two sides of the business model. Realtors is one of them. The other sides are businesses. Businesses support realtors, but more importantly, businesses support the realtors' clients. And that's why the winning formula of our network to date are both those groups of people and businesses alike. And today is a very special show, as I say, because I'm now bringing on family. And that is obviously very personal to me. It's a fantastic story. Many of you who are part of my Facebook network will definitely recognize our guest today. And, you know, people who follow me and who have watched the show, this is episode 70. I can't believe that. But in the previous episodes, I've talked about my culinary background. I was a chef for over 20 years, and it is a relentless industry. It's passion driven. You got to be able to be motivated. You have to be very passionate to put up with what happens in the industry and these crazy schedules and lifestyles that come along with it. But it also can be an extremely rewarding industry. And I'm talking about hospitality in a whole, not just the cooking side of it. There is just a lot to be said. And when I was thinking about putting the show, I've been planning on this with my guests for some time now. And the reality of it is this: realtors, you always give gifts away, okay? And so why not give the gift of food, give the gift of life? Support local, support those local restaurants in your city. That's really the message, you know, and you're going to hear a lot more here right away as I get going here in just a moment. But I really want you to think about that for a couple more minutes. And while this conversation goes on, keep that in the back of your mind, that restaurants are businesses. They're still suffering. And there's lots of things going on in the world today that are causing them hardships. And you know what? Local support is always amazing. And that's really one of the points I wanted to bring in. Remember, realtors, your customers, your clients need to eat as well. And what a great gift to support both the community, your local restaurants, and of course, your clients. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to get going. Our special guest today. Now, I don't know if you know who Hal Anderson is or not, but many, many years ago, my cousin Tony Siwicki here in this picture, our guest today, and I found ourselves doing a live show on radio back in St. James, Winnipeg, Manitoba, a number of years ago. And Hal Anderson's one of the local celebrities, and he's the host of the radio show that we were participating on. And he nicknamed my cousin the Mayor of St. James. Now, there's obviously no Mayor of St. James, but you know, the Silver Heights restaurant is very much like your local Cheers. You remember that TV show Cheers, where everybody knows everybody and everyone remembers your name? Well, that's the Silver Heights restaurant. And Tony Siwicki is the owner of the restaurant, and it's a family legacy. Tony's mom is my dad's sister, and again, it's family, and it's very, very special to me. We're going to get to it right away. I'm going to show the slide here at the end of this presentation. But if you want to get hold of Tony for whatever reason, you can always get hold of him at tonysawicki@gmail.com. That's right, Tony. I use your personal email because this is a personal show. You can call him at 204-889-7246. And of course, visit the website frequently, silverheightsrestaurant.ca. Okay, I'm going to do this a little bit because and this is just such an incredible story. I got to share it with you. Okay. The Silver Heights restaurant has been in operation since 1957. I'm going to have to get Tony to correct me on my math skills because that's an awfully long time of business. And there's just a couple pictures of the original sign. And interesting enough, other than a couple tone changes, the sign's never changed. It's a city landmark here in Winnipeg, Manitoba on Portage Avenue. And that's his great uncle who, no, I guess that would be his great grandpa. I don't know. I'm going to have to ask him. Anyways, he started it off as a cab driver and started a restaurant in 1957. And looking at the pictures, you know, it just tells the story in its own. Look at that little lounge area back in the day. These pictures are phenomenal. Okay. And at one point in time, the brothers were brought in as business partners into the Silver Heights restaurant. And this gentleman here, Uncle Jimmy, was, you know, our uncle, who basically is the carryover, the founder, the family that kept the legacy going before Tony. And there's our family picture, Uncle Jimmy and family. This picture is old now. I can't get over how old it is, but there's our family. And the dining room's changed, obviously, from the one I originally showed you. And it is a thriving local restaurant. It doesn't matter if you're in the lounge or if you're in the restaurant. They even have a private section of the dining room that they do rent out or book out for private functions and events. But it's just a fun place. It's a place where everyone knows your name. You are a regular. You don't have to be a regular. They're always looking to share and open the doors to new users, tasters. It's just a lot of fun. And there is the outside today. And I also got to point out the patio is open. May long weekend coming up. Again, today is May 15th, 2024. Forgot to mention that. But yeah, patio is open. Some of their signature dishes, the ribs. Silver Heights restaurant is legendary for the ribs. I think that was one of the first dishes they came up with when they first opened, and they've never changed the recipe since. Prime rib, of course, you know, their philosophy is to serve amazing food, the best ingredients at affordable prices. And this is, you know, not common nowadays for prime rib to be served in many restaurants, and Silver Heights certainly takes a lot of pride in that. Again, their steaks, their CAB, their beef, their products are incredible, legendary. Hand foods, comfort foods, you name it, they're known for it. They're very creative. They're offering specials constantly. They participate in Burger Week. They participate in everything in the city. And there's nothing but creativity. Family-owned restaurant means one thing: always good, always fresh, always local. Amazing, right? And that's one of my favorite pictures. And I don't know why. It's just a simple sandwich, but it's just good. That's why I put that image on there. And now we're going to bring on Tony here right away. I love this picture. This is a picture of he and his daughter. Now, Tony is the chair of the Manitoba Restaurant and Foodservices Association. And that's really where I was hoping he could shed some light and carry on this conversation. But the reason why I not only love this picture, but share this picture is because not only is Tony the chair of the Restaurant Association, if you will, or the Restaurant and Food Services Association, but he's hands-on. And the fact that he's giving us some of his time today is very special because he works like a maniac, and I don't know how he does it. We're going to get to it right away. But no better chair of the association than someone who is as dedicated to the industry as Tony, from a family who are iconic in our city and who've done this our entire lives. So with no further ado, I'm bringing on Tony. Tony, all stretched out in there? You ready to go?
58, 59, 600.
Ah, I bet that feels good.
How you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm exhausted from watching you do that.
Well, I know.
Tony,
Jeez, that took forever. You were more prepared than I ever was. I thought maybe 2 or 3, but good. Get my workout for the month.
So how long have you been working like this in your family restaurant? What age did you start working in your restaurant?
Probably about 8 years old, actually. I was, 8, 9. Both JC and I would kind of go in there Friday or Saturday, Sundays. And if you wanted to see my dad, you'd go to work. So we would go in the morning and we would, right away, here's a rag, here's a pail, go wash a wall, go wash a table. And our bonus was we got to keep all the gum we found underneath the tables. So that was our treat. But no, we'd go into the kitchen. We were peeling carrots and potatoes and peeling and veining shrimp and washing dishes and whatever we want to do. But that's what we did every Saturday, Sunday, and then we carried on. And that was and throughout the summer we were there more because we didn't have school or we went to the lake. But then we were lucky to go to the lake, of course. But by 12, I guess, 12, I was training the cooks, all the new cooks to come in, how to make the sauces, how to make the sandwiches and what to do, where this goes, where that goes. Then I'd go and take off. And then, 12, 13, 14, I was running the dining room. I was a host like my daughter is now, but now she's going to be turning 18. So she started at 14. We were being the host and, I would be the host from 5 o'clock to about 9 o'clock, then go in the kitchen and work the kitchen till about midnight, close it up and go home at 14, 15, to ride my bike or skateboard home and did that. And then, going to school back and forth. And that's what we loved doing. I absolutely loved doing every single bit of it. So, when it was time for, going to university, part of the rule was if I wanted to keep going to that restaurant, I needed to prove myself with a degree of something. So went to UW and, got my business degree and came back. And I was also running that restaurant while I was going to school. So it took me a little bit longer than the average bear. So.
Well, I didn't remember the business degree part of it. So I love hearing that. And actually that kind of explains a little bit more about your business wiseness and your success in the business world. So you started at age 8. When do you think you really started to learn how to cook?
So cooking, the recipes were easy. That was something, somebody teaches you how to make a burger, make a sandwich, make a whatever it is, following that. But, we've had numerous cooks, that come through those doors, and every single cook that would come in, or sous chef or chef for that matter, taught us something. So slowly, I watched and a little bit of spice here, a little bit of sauce here, how they presented, how they cut, how they folded, that's slowly how I started doing it. And then I would take it home and practice for my wife and, girlfriend at the time probably. But, Sunday dinners, we would have dinners at the restaurant and, that's what I would do. Me and JC would sit there and we'd cook for mom and dad and Lori and Donna, whoever was coming in for dinner. So slowly that was how we started doing it. And then we just started cooking. JC was in there longer than me probably because I got out of the kitchen out to the front and he had the face for the kitchen, my mom always said. So we kept him back there. But, now we do all the recipes. All the recipes on the menu are pretty much mine. I love doing it. I love trying new things and everything, at least once a week, I'll go in that back of the kitchen and hammer out a few recipes. I would say 90% fail, 10% go put on the menu. But if you don't try, you're never going to find out what works or not.
So here's a bold question. I'm not sure if you can come up with an answer. First of all, exactly how many years has your restaurant been around for?
It'll be 67 years this June. Next month.
67 years.
Yeah.
All right. So that's just so incredible. Now, here's a question I got for you, and I want you to take, a stab at it. But in those 67 years, how many people do you think you fed out of that restaurant?
You know what? That's a great question. Had we been reporting prior to 1999, I don't know.
Well, you know, the McDonald's
I don't know.
times. I remember growing up, and there was
1
hundreds
billion
and hundreds
served.
of
Yeah.
dollars.
Yeah.
And then with the millions, is now it's got to be trillions. But
Yeah.
I would, I mean, I see how busy your restaurant can be at times, and on top of that, all the different caterings that you've done. When did the catering services start coming out of your restaurant?
Oh, for as long as I can remember, my dad was huge into catering, so he's the one
He
who taught
was,
me
eh?
how to do it all. Right, so you know,
Yeah.
he would. I remember going with him when I was 12, 13, and loading up the banquet tables and loading up the chafing dishes, putting the water in, starting the fire, you know, fuel,
Yeah.
loading up things, and standing behind him. My son does it with me. He was doing it at 10 years old beside me. Same idea, handing out the chicken wings and the chicken fingers and the ribs and everything like that.
Yeah.
Setting up, tearing down, lawing back the restaurant. You know, when he owned the Monterey, we were doing all the catering for the Monterey out of the restaurant. So we would zip it down there, and that was, you know, so yeah, as far as I can remember, we were catering. Yeah. And now we're catering. Like I did 3 caterings this morning before I came here. So that is every single day we're doing a catering of, you know, whether it's 10 people or 80 people. That's what we're doing every single day. I need a bigger kitchen.
I think, I mean, now speaking as a chef, in my experience in that world, I don't think a lot of people realize how hard it is to cater. One, if you just had a kitchen and an operation dedicated to catering, different story, right? But you're operating a restaurant and a lounge, and you're doing catering on top of that. How many hours do you work on average a week, Tony?
Oh, I don't want to upset it myself, but yeah, it's up there.
Yeah,
probably 90 to 100 hours a week, probably.
90 to 100 hours, and I bet you that's actually even being safe, right?
Yeah. Well, I did it yesterday. It was a Monday, was 13 hours Monday, and you know, the Tuesday was pretty much the same. Today is my day off, so I went in only for about 5 hours.
Yeah, and you catered 3 different caterings. And the other thing is you're on your feet all day long.
Yeah.
The stress that I see and understand that you deal with on a regular basis, what motivates you to get out of bed and go back to it every single day?
I love what I do. I love the people. I love my staff. I love the customers. I love the challenges. I love the reward at the end. I just you know, it's a legacy. My grandfather and grandmother opened. That is a big drive for me and for my brother. That is my dad, who kept it going when he didn't have to. And then, you know, met my mother there, and they continued the thing. And then we came along, and, you know, I get emotional when I talk about it. So that is our biggest drive. And then I met my wife there. My kids work there. You know, it's my brother met his girlfriend there, his wife there. You know, it's, you know, it is home. Unfortunately, I spend more time there than I do at home. But you know, it's the push and pull effect. It's the smiles. It's walking through my dining room and seeing everybody smiling and thanking me for good food. And wow, how did you think of this item? Or, hey, Tony, you cooking? Yeah. Okay, I'm closing my menu. I'm gonna just make me whatever you want. The memories that it makes, the people that just say, you know what, listen, I met my husband here. We had our 10th anniversary here. We, you know, the stories are, it's just, as soon as I walk in there, and like it reminds me of certain things that just flow, and this keeps me wanting to turn that door, open that, pull that sign, open that up, and welcome everybody in. So that's my motivation. I absolutely love it. I think about it all day long. I constantly trying to make new ideas, bring more people in, help the people that are already coming. It's just and helping other restaurants, you know, if they have issues. I love doing that kind of stuff too. So
okay, well, we'll get to that in 1 second, but I think the affiliation and the way that people forever that I've known have you know, stereotyped your restaurant as being the local Cheers is really is one of the biggest compliments that you can actually have. And then I brought up, and I mentioned when I opened, when Hal Anderson nicknamed you the mayor of St. James.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know that was just a verbal saying and all, but that was him showing respect to how well known you are in the St. James community. Now, people who are not from here don't realize that St. James is a very large area in our city, and that's what makes this restaurant location so special. Is it's family owned. The clients are treated like family, right? And it's just like I also wanted to point out when we're referring to it as family and everything else. If anyone's ever gone to anybody's in your family's weddings, we don't have that big of a family, but yet there's so many people who show up and they're guests from the restaurant. And to me, that says everything as well. You know, like you go from, you can't even drive and you go after school to the restaurants, you work on weekends, you work during the summers. Of course, these clients become family. But here's the part that I find so amazing is, do you still have clients that you see on a regular basis that have been coming to your place for your entire life, Tony?
Yeah, they're few and few between now because they're they're getting older. But yeah, I can. I'm sure gonna start thinking of all the people that used to come, but they're all the I can name all the tables and all the chairs where they're sitting down and what their drinks are going to be there. But yeah, we still have people that come in there for 40, 50, 60 years, and they come in and they sit down. I remember your grandfather, like today, I was just there. My mom was sitting there with about 10 ladies that she grew up with. And then one girl was brand new and she goes, hi, I happened to stand there. She goes, Siwicki. Yeah. Well, guess what? I knew your grandfather and I used to represent him. I don't know, some kind of funny story that was back 60, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that area, the St. James, Silver Heights area. So it's a local watering hole for that area, right? And it was the end of the street, the end of Portage Avenue when it first opened. I think everybody thought my grandparents were crazy and his buddies were crazy. They opened up a restaurant at the end of the world because I think the streetcar ended there and turned around and went back downtown. The next building was the Kirkfield. So that's how far the next bar or whatever it was, right? There wasn't even houses built in Silver Heights yet. That wasn't for another 6-7 years. So it slowly became part of their little area. And it was a fancy restaurant back then. People had to dress up in a suit and tie just to get in. And it was like the stories that you don't forget. 8 decades that restaurant has been in there. 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010, 2020. So that's 8 decades. Now that restaurant, that box has been watching that city grow, the competition coming up, going away, coming up, the buildings coming up, going away, the people constantly coming in, the stories, it's fascinating.
And you know what also I find so funny when we're talking about your everyone knows somebody and that cheers atmosphere. But as I've been scrolling through all of your pictures, the ones you sent me, the one on Instagram, just you name it. And also in personal memory, I always love how whenever there's a family photo, there's always more than family in the family photos, or there's family members who are missing, who are busy in the restaurant for that family photo. And whoever is sitting at the table at the time was considered families now in your photos. You know? It always cracks me up. And I wanted to share that. Okay, I want to get on to a little bit more of a serious topic. How long have you been involved in the Restaurant Association, or the, sorry, I'm just looking for the correct terminology for it, the Restaurant and Food Service Association?
Yeah, Manitoba Restaurant and Food Service Association.
Manitoba, yeah.
MRFA. I've been around since 2015 as a board member.
Okay.
And then I've been chair since 2020.
Okay. And what motivates you to be part of that association?
Well, so when I got asked to sit in a couple meetings with his name is Scott Jocelyn. He was the executive director at the time. and he owned the A down the street from us. His family owned the Assiniboine, Gordon's Inns, and all that kind of stuff. And so we would talk regularly on issues. And if I had problems, I'd phone him. If he had, hey, I got a restaurant guy that's got the same issues as you. How did you fix this? And it slowly became more of a common. He'd sit down in my restaurant for lunch and we'd discuss issues, to the point where he says, "Tony, I think you should probably come to one of our meetings and see what's going on." And I walk in and it was the who's who of the restaurant business. It was Gord Hauer from the Kegs and Leo Grimudas from Bailey's, Steve Versailles from Rain Jerry's, Doug Stevens from Wow. I was sitting there, I felt so tiny because these guys are giants in the industry. And but I had a tiny little restaurant. These guys had massive chains. These guys had bigger restaurants. And it was just the story. It made me feel like, okay, I'm not alone here. We have the same issues. We have the same roadblocks, the same red tape, the same problems, the same thoughts, and it was an association that kind of was built. It started in 1944 as the Canadian Restaurant Association, actually, and it slowly it broke off into the Manitoba, and then you have the Restaurants Canada has now blanketed over. But the association is there to help this industry, with ever there's wage issues or just even knowing somebody, policies, red tape, you name it. If there's a problem, we can figure out. We know somebody that can handle it, or we have a solution that's part of it. And we lobby for our industry. We advocate. We educate. We innovate. We have different kind of POS terminals and just you name it. We're there trying to help. And so when when slowly more and more, and all these issues keep coming up, and we were able to solve problems and help out and helping out other restaurants and growing. The association at the same time was motivation. It was once a month I would come and visit. We would hammer out some things and carry on the next month, and then we would more. And then 2019, that's when they said, "Tone, why don't you run for a chair?" And I said, "What do I need this for? I'm already busy as it is." But at the end of the day, I'll run. If I don't get it, I don't get it. Who cares? They voted me in 2019. Well, guess what happened in 2020?
What?
COVID. So what a year to be the chair of an industry that got beat up horribly. But
and now COVID's passed, and now we're dealing with absolutely skyrocketing food costs.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not just food costs. I'm sure it's everything involved in your restaurant has gone up in price so much. Is that a topic in this association now? When you guys are sitting down as a board, are you guys talking about how to deal with these increasing costs?
Every day, every meeting has something to do with costs. Our costs are enormous now, right? And so you just pretty much nailed it. Everything we buy now, post-COVID, has increased significantly, from protein, produce, the carbon taxes, labor has gone up 30% over the course of a year. Services, fuel charges, dry goods, everything has gone up, and except for the menus, right? People have been going increasing their menus, but you can increase the menus at the rate of the costs that are increasing. Otherwise, you could scare off your customers, right? But you can't keep taking the hit. So there's things that people are trying to do, and we're trying to come together and say, okay, where can we save money for this industry? Whether it's we're lobbying for a labor grant for training new people into the industry. Because our for instance, if we talk about labor, the restaurants, we hire the 16, 17, 18-year-olds to come in. They want to school. They want to be a host. They want to be a server. They want to earn some money while going to school. But they got their outside, activities like football and the dancing and whatever, and school activities. So we know they can only be a limit of hours. But that, this industry, that's the introductory. They come in there, everybody says, you know what, can you hire my kid here? He wants to be a dishwasher, he wants to be a host. Yeah, come on in, I'll show him how to do this thing, you know. But now, with labor being as high as it is, it's tough to hire those people because the training of those people costs us more than actually the labor does, right? So we look for, hey, help us hire these people. We want to hire these people. These people need this industry. They need to learn the networking and the multitasking and the accountability and the responsibility and the cleanliness, you know, the work ethic that this industry gives each and every one of us. You probably go on, anybody that's watching this probably has already worked in the industry at least once, right? And you can name everybody in a room has worked in a restaurant, but it's going to a point where that's not going to be the case anymore because it's too hard to hire young people at that rate. So give us a grant. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I appreciate the topic about the grants helping out the labor. You know, I'm thinking about the different food trends, you know, and food trends is very, very wide open. And don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about vegan food or anything like that. When I was active in the industry, there was folklore of some different restaurants in our city that were very high-end dining experiences. And I don't know if there's any places around like that, or not many anyways. There used to be a lot of very, very high-end restaurants. And now it's definitely changing. My question, I guess, is as a group and as an association, do you guys see this industry lasting, evolving, getting to a level of profitability where it was once before?
Evolving, absolutely. Lasting, yes. Profitability, it's a different story right now. Going back, there are still high-end restaurants. You know, the 529 is probably the one that comes to mind, right?
Yeah.
Bailey's is still one that I would consider high-end. Highs.
Right.
They have a market there that they were able to stay strong because a demographic that they cater to, right? But you know, restaurants are closing. You know, for every one that opens, 2 are closing. That's across Canada, and that's a scary number to
say that again.
For every one restaurant opening, 2 are closing.
Wow. And those ones that are opening, how long are they lasting before they close?
Well, there's a statistic, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but it isn't long. It's within a 2 or 3 year thing that they just realize they're up against the megalodon and don't understand. Like, people get into it wanting to. They have this fancy recipe and they just want to serve my favorite chicken salad sandwich to Manitoba, and I'm going to be the most successful chicken salad sandwich guy in the world. Then they open up a restaurant and they got all the licenses and all the taxes and all the permits and all the equipment and all the hoods and the exhaust and then the inspections and then, you know, and then they realize, and then they got to get the POS and they got the staff and then they got to get the door and then they got to, they realize that, well, I need to sell 1,000 chicken sandwiches a day in order to break even. Right. And that's what usually scares everybody. Right. And then they cut back. Well, I don't need that inventory control because, you know, that's too much money, $500 a month. Well, if you don't know what you're buying and keeping, you're never going to know. Oh, you know what? I don't need to spend money on advertising because I can't afford it. Well, you know, saving money on advertising, like taking the batteries out of a clock to save time. Right. So you need to make sure you're advertising, let people know you're in there. So it's a scary scenario, and that's where we come in to help. Say, hey, try this, try that. Here's somebody that can help here. You know, it's ask the questions, right?
Well, I think that's one of the parts that motivated me so much, and that kept me hounding you, Tony, to get on here, is because I feel a show like this, a conversation like this, can benefit those restaurateurs in your organization. Can give them a unique spotlight, and you know what? Like I say, those high-end restaurants, you nailed it. They have a very specific target audience. They've been going there religiously for very long times, and they love the restaurants. And obviously, price doesn't matter. But nowadays, when price is, look at, instead of eating out 3 times a week, people are going out once a week or once every 2 weeks because of cost of living. They're kind of figuring out, well, where's the best bang for my buck? Or where's somewhere really special that I really want to go to as compared to just any place I'd go to regularly. I'm not only seeing it, believing in it, but I'm also experiencing it firsthand myself. And so I think it's general knowledge that that industry of yours is struggling, because everyone's struggling to a certain degree. Now, your menu items and your costing and your sourcing of foods, is there strategies behind that?
Well, certainly. So I rely heavily on our suppliers, right? So, they're a team of every restaurant. You got your Toledo Meats, the Young family, you got Gordon Foodservices, you got Independent Fish, or American Independent Fish now. But these, their staff, their chefs, that they're the ones who I rely on the price, the best price for that market. Like they know my menu, and they'll know another restaurant's menu. They'll know exactly what they do is they learn your business. They sit down with you, they learn who you are, who your clientele are. A good supplier will do that. They'll learn your menu, they'll learn, everything about you. So then when you sit down and create their menu, then they're not coming at you with all these stuff that they know they'll never ever sell. But they source out the right price. They know that, like, I buy quality. You nailed it. Certified Angus beef. I've been doing that since 2005. And because I believe in that product, well, they know that that's what I want to do. They're not going to sell me a third grade beef, knowing full well that I won't like it, or my customers won't like it, right? So, but they say, okay, this cut might be too expensive. Let's change this cut because I can make it cheaper for you. It's the same quality beef, but a different kind of cut. Produce, same idea. This is, listen, instead of buying all this romaine, Tone, and cutting it yourselves, well, we cut it for you over here, and that way you save your money on labor. You're not throwing out half the lettuce because it's wilty in the back, but you're saving money that way. So there's different ways of, when you're creating your menu, you always use your suppliers as help to say, okay, can I make this menu profitable? You already know the menu is going to sell because it's a delicious dish. Now, how do I make it sure that it's going to be okay at the bottom line, and they're going to have it at always, right? You're not going to create this beautiful lobster sandwich and then you can't get lobster anymore because it's bought up from everybody, right?
Well, I was just going to ask that. So nowadays, you're still hearing about people who are purchasing cars and things, and there's shortages and different things. Have you run into at all recently shortages of those key products you're talking about?
Certainly. Well, up till this recently, lobster you couldn't get. The 12-ounce lobster tails that I wanted. If you did, well, you had to spend, it was $50 a tail, my cost, to buy the 12-ounce lobster tail that I was normally buying for $15.
So right? No more lobster on Mother's Day. What did you have to substitute it with?
I did put Mother's Day. I put lobster. I found an 8-ounce lobster tail, Canadian lobster tail from Mariner Neptune. My cost was still quite a bit. But I sold quite a bit to offset that cost, right? But it was just something I wanted to have, the lobster and 2 beef ribs, and that was a fantastic dish. We sold a ton of them. So, but yeah, oil, you couldn't get flour for a while, right? When they had the war from Ukraine, you couldn't get flour. You couldn't get the oil went up 300%. Wow. I'm trying to think of what was not available. I don't know. We can't find jerk sauce right now. But I don't know. There was so many things that we just had to kind of say, okay, we can't get that. Okay, let's try this, and try and make it yourself. And that was one thing we always tried doing.
You better give Kevin Bergen a call and say, "Hey, Mama, I need some jerk sauce. I'm short on jerk sauce."
He came in Mother's Day for ribs for his wife and for his mom and his sister.
Amazing. So you know what? I love the fact, because I was just taking a look at some materials of your grandpa's, Anthony Siwicki Sr., and he opened up that restaurant, and I quote, okay, that It's Silver Heights restaurant was founded on quick, friendly service, food served fresh, quality food at a reasonable price. Now that is something that you guys have done your entire existence there, and you still continue to do so.
Yeah.
Would you consider your restaurant a family restaurant?
Certainly, yeah. Family that work there, but family that everybody that comes in becomes our family. Everybody that works there is our family, and
Right.
it supports all the families that are around that restaurant in that community. It's right from the start, and right till it ever ends, it's going to be a family restaurant. And you know what?
That's the right way to answer.
You mentioned my grandpa's thing. That was his true values, and my dad stuck to that. He says, Tone, there's at the end of the day, whatever you decide, this is how you run this restaurant. This is what I want you to do. I do not want you to change from these core values. And this is, and we don't. And that was something that at the end of the day, that's your recipe.
Amazing.
Quality, service, reasonable, and you will live a long, healthy, successful restaurant life if you continue that route, right?
If you follow that protocol.
Yeah.
You see, your brother JC, he's not on the show right now, but he's also co-owner of the restaurant and grew up with you. And
he's there so I could be here.
Amazing. Well, thanks, JC.
I owe him. Yeah, we work beside each other every day, of course.
Yeah.
But we rely on each other heavily, and it's oops, sorry, I thought turn that off. That's him calling.
Yeah. Well, then tell him that he owes you money for calling you when you're alive.
Yeah.
Tony, alongside brother JC, carry on the legacy, transforming Silver Heights into one of the city's most beloved eateries and classic neighborhood bar. Now, what is I find very interesting is JC's comment in his philosophy, like your grandpa's. And JC says your restaurant is fostering a congenial atmosphere for all. That's also really important to you, isn't it?
Remind what congenial means.
Well, how about I Google search that for you right now? It's a fun, friendly place that everyone calls home, and that's the idea behind congenial.
It is. It's we get that a lot too. Everybody that comes in, we still get people that never been there before, and in their 70s, 60s, live in Winnipeg all their lives. I've never been before, and I find that crazy. And I go, what?
Right.
It's one of those things where I'm like, really? And you're not 12, you're not 18, you're in your 50s, 60s. Well, okay, whatever, right? Where do you live? St. James. What? But,
yeah.
So, but whenever they do come in, they sit there, and right away they say, cozy. This is comfort.
Yeah.
This is not loud. This is not this is not
congenial.
Yeah, it's very congenial. DC didn't know that word.
You know what? I've met people who are in their 50s and 60s who don't even live in the area or even out of town. And they've come back to me. My good friend Terry, for example, he goes, Steve, I grew up there. I lived closer to the Polo Park area, and I went to Silver Heights 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And so you hear those stories a lot too. Before we go past this, though, this is a point I really wanted to make sure that everyone sort of has a better understanding. I'm going to go to the harder side of things again. Yes, it's a family restaurant. I love the way that you answered that question. My question is how many families do you support as employees in your restaurant now? How many
40.
families do you support?
40 families.
40 families. Now, I don't think a lot of people realize that responsibility is intense as a restaurant owner. Not only are you dealing with, the public engagement, people, sales, promotions, advertising. I loved your feedback about marketing, about taking out the batteries of that clock. You have all these things that you balance on a daily basis, but you also have those families that depend on you to be successful. How do you deal with that pressure, Tony? Well,
we work together. At the end of the day, I have 40 families that will rely on this restaurant to stay focused. And that's kind of was another thing why we fought to stay open through COVID, fight to stay open post-COVID. It is very stressful. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that they do have a paycheck. They'll get a paycheck before my brother and I will get ours, if we ever get one, hopefully pretty soon. They're my ambassadors for that restaurant. They're the ones who come in every single day. They're the ones who I'm in the back in the office. I'm in the kitchen. I'm on the road catering. I'm shopping for the restaurant. I'm fixing something on the roof. I'm in the basement. Not the whole basement, but I'm not out front as much as I would love to, but they are, right? And they're the ones who welcome everybody coming in, saying goodbye, cleaning the tables, cleaning the walls, cleaning the chair legs, the blinds, the TVs, making sure everything's stocked, everything's ready. My job is to make sure that they have the tools to do their job. So, but without them, we're closed, right? So my brother and I, we fight every single day to make sure we have this tools that they can do their job properly, that they can make money. If they're not making any money, I'm not making any money. If they're not making any money, they're not staying. So we want to make sure that they are making money, right? They have the tools to sell the wine, to sell the add-ons, to height size their cocktails, the gravies, the poutines, whatever they can make more money in that guest check, and then come back to work the next day. I got people that live in Landmark, Steinbach, Fraserwood, Niverville, and they drive into work every single day, and they drive home. Some do split shifts. And don't think they go home at that time, but at the end of the day, they wouldn't be coming to my place and working there every single day, but they weren't getting any money. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense, right? So they do it every single day, and they are happy, and that's what makes us happy, because when they're focused and they're having fun, they're successful. Well, we want to make sure that we're not the ones roadblocking them being successful, but it's very stressful when you're saying, okay, I got to make payroll this week, whether or not I had a busy weekend or whatever it is. Okay, let's figure out how to do that. And payroll's down. Oh, wait a minute, PST's due. Oh, GST's due. Oh, we got all the vendors that are now wanting their bills, and we're still trying to figure. There's our stress, is trying to make sure that we don't bounce their checks.
All right. So it leads me to I guess we're coming near an end here soon, but when we were having a conversation, I think it was just last week, you had mentioned to me almost a stereotype or a general consensus that restaurants are making a lot of profit off each plate. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because that comment you gave me in person, it made me shake my head. And I said to you, if you recall, you have to talk about that today, Tony.
Certainly. So margins. Correct. Everybody understands, no matter what business you're in, if you have a margin, right? What you make for every plate. You have your fixed costs, you got your labor, you got your food costs, and you got your miscellaneous costs, right? So restaurants pre-COVID were working with on an average, there's some restaurants making more, some making less, but on average, they were making about 7% margin on every plate. Which means, let's use $100. For every $100 that would come in, that restaurant profit would be $7. Okay, so that's a pretty small number. COVID hit, obviously zero, right? Everybody went through. There was no customers, so no customers, no money, and so everything that was saved was gone out the doors. Post COVID, coming in with costs that are increasingly the inflation that's just hitting us, and even insurance is up, everything's up. The average margin is 3%. Okay, so
that 3% profit, how do you survive on 3% profit?
Well, that's the thing. It's very stressful, and that's hold on, got my throat thing coming before I start cacking.
That's okay. So take a sip of water. To me, that 3% margin, it's almost unbelievable that you're able to support those 40 families, to continue to operate a thriving business on a 3% profit margin? Now, I get you're getting those costs covered, which is obviously the most important part, but how do you get ahead in the world on 3%?
Right now, we're not. Right now, we're fighting to get to the level that we were at post-COVID, pre-COVID. And it is a scary. It's a daily conversation I have with my brother. Where are we going? How do we get there? How do we get more? How do we cut back in the back? Labor wise, how do we continue with the cost, with the damage that virus did to all our restaurants, but ours, it's going to take about 5 years to get to a level that we're comfortable again, and that's something that's very real. It's something that we see every day. It's something it's our biggest challenge right now is just to make sure we're going, and it's tight. The servers are still making their gratuities and they're still making their wages. And even though it's going up and it's going up again in October, which is going to be a pretty hit to us again, nobody's really ready for this past one we just got, right? And so we're planning for that, and we're planning our menus and changing them, and that costs money too, changing a menu. But it is tough, And do I have a magic word, a magic solution? I don't. We just go in every single day, probably because we're there every single day. That's helping. That's me and my brother are kind of like free labor, I guess.
Well, that's, I guess, goes right back to our segue about the Manitoba Restaurant and Food Services Association, how you guys come together, you sit around that table and you work on these types of solutions, and you're compassionate to one another who are all dealing with the same issues day in and day out. I love hearing that. I love talking about that, not only because I'm interested in it, not only because you're family, but on a business side of things, what a case study for people in the years to come. It absolutely fascinates me that, to me, the food industry has got to be one of the longest and earliest industries out there. I loved your comment earlier too about how if you talk to just about anybody at some point in time, they've probably been in the restaurant or hospitality service themselves. It's almost like a collect-all of people and laborers and staff, and how that works. And
there's 40,200 people that actually work in I believe it's the Manitoba restaurant industry.
Wow!
Right, so that's 2,500. I believe there's 2,600, just under 2,600 restaurants, and so that's how many people that are actually in this industry that are supporting this economy and the government. And that's how many restaurants we represent. That's what it's a big number. That's all Manitoba, from way up north to down south. So just wanted to add that it's not a Mickey Mouse industry. I think it accounts for 5% of Canada's GDP. Is that
right?
Right. So
that's interesting. So I want to jump on moving forward. These are the types of things that make Silver Heights very unique. Also, you have team sponsorship. What does that mean exactly?
So we're like the hub for baseball teams, hockey teams, football teams, ultimate teams, bowling teams, dart teams. We don't have the darts or anything, but so these teams come in after the game, before the game. They kind of do their wind up. They sit there, have their nachos, and they're cheering, their beers, and it's we have a loyalty kind of card that we created because of the teams, actually, where they get 10% back for everything they spend, and the course of a season, they accumulate. Like you see 12 people in that picture. Well, each 12 people have a card that goes to one pool, and then 10% they can come in with a team, or they can come in with their grandma and their husband or whoever, or bring in their business associate that goes to that pool. And at the end of the season, that money that they raise, they could even have a big party on me, or buy some jerseys for the team, or hats, or equipment, right? And so we've been doing that for 20 years at least. And the card started in 2010. So, but before that, I was doing hand paper on how many people came in and 10%. Okay, perfect. You know, that took forever. I had 30 teams I had to do it for, right? So that took a little time. And so that still goes strong. It's pretty neat. Now we're doing some kind of a school one, which is pretty neat. So one of the customers, Aldo, said, why don't you do something for a school where anybody can go in and donate their points to this school, and then at the end of the year, we draw a number in the hat of the school district in our area, and then they get that money to put towards some sort of school sporting activity. So you know, they need something like that, which is pretty cool. It's about I don't know how much is that right now, but but I've got customers that now got mad at me for giving it all to the team. So now I got the loyalty card for all the customers. They go, why are they getting everything? We're here every single day. So now they got it. I got customers that got $5,000 that I own because they get that much there.
Well, that just shows you again that concept of thinking outside the box, rewarding your clients, and more importantly, that last comment shows you about how many loyal clients you really do have. You know, it's incredible. Okay, Fridays, there's 25% off appetizers. How long are you going to keep that deal up when you got these soaring prices?
I sell a lot of appetizers. Yeah, I know it's tough. You know, you got to give some sort of draw that people come in. You know, I'm not. You know, where we don't have too many. We cut back on all the coupons, but these are like this Fridays. Okay, 25% off the appetizers. More of a treat for the customers that are coming in. You know, Mondays got rib night, Tuesdays got wine night, and two can dine for $27.99.
Well, I know that's fine. You're pulling the rug underneath my feet here, Tony. Sorry. But here's my point, though, and I kept this picture of these mushrooms Neptune. That you've also included a piece of garlic toast. Now, to me, that is something. Why? Because most restaurants, you don't get anything extra nowadays. Yeah. You know, even if you go to a fast food chain, you just go to buy a burger or a sandwich, and it's like $10 plus. Look at, not only are you getting 25% off, but you're also getting garlic toast with it, just because it goes great together.
Yeah, that's a Jimmy thing. He says, you got to give them the toast for the dipping. I go, there's nothing to dip there.
You see, I love it. Okay. Now, this is also very special to me. And you know, it's funny because we talk about restaurants and food always being the focal point. But the other thing that's uniquely special to the Silver Heights and I think legendary is the atmosphere in your restaurant. And talking about jazz every Saturday between 1 and 4. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We started that many years ago, 15 years ago.
Right, eh?
Slowly, yeah, we had Bob Kamowski, Moose Jackson, Gord, all these guys, big namers. Bill, I can't. My mind lost my name. The Rolodex here, but so yeah, these guys. Now this guy, Steve Hamilton on bass, he took it over from Bill. And we get people from all over North America and the world that come in and play on they'll be the headliner like tonight. I think it is. No, Helen White was last week. And, you know, she's a vocalist. She's a dancer. She's just fantastic. She gets the crowd going. But you get people from Chicago, trumpet players, saxophonists, you know, people from England that come in and play the piano. And then what we do now is people are coming in with their equipment, sitting down there, and all of a sudden they get up and hammer out a tune, a song with a group, right? They're all like they're teachers of U of M. They have the students from U of M come and play. But it's such remarkable stuff that they do, and it's full. Like that's why we keep doing it. You know, Saturday was dead. I was contemplating shutting down Saturday's lunches. What for? What am I going to open up for nobody coming in? So I had to create a destination place for people to come. And then what we did was, you know, I love music. I'm infatuated with it. I love listening to it, like going to watch it, and so I brought it to me. And so every Saturday, I get the best of the best jazz of Manitoba, but all over, playing for customers. So now there's no reservations because once they did that, everybody got mad that nobody can sit anywhere. So it's rush seating. It's $5. It all goes to the band. And it's fantastic. So I'm keeping it all year long. I used to stop at May long and then bring it back September long, but everybody's mad at me for stopping it. So I'm going to keep it, see how far I can go.
Amazing. So your grandfather, I never met him, but the quick, friendly service, serve fresh, quality food at a reasonable price. Was your grandpa known for being like you and your dad, being very creative the same way, by bringing in artists, by bringing in atmosphere, by bringing in entertainment? You know how many times I've walked into your restaurant and people are, sure, they're eating and drinking, but they're engaged in the entertainment so much. I think it's so unique, like no other. And like the trivia, and I was there on a Wednesday night, and the lounge was packed.
Yeah,
full of people playing trivia.
Yeah.
Who thought of that, Tony?
Well, it's me. So what we, of course, we wanted to do something, obviously, and I'm not a karaoke guy. We did karaoke for 30 years, and I think it had its time, and we just, it was just, everybody else is doing trivia, karaoke. But I love the trivia. I love it. And I had people saying, Tony, if you ever had trivia, I'd be coming here. So I'm like, let me look into it. And so we found this thing, put it on the TVs, and I said, well, we need a host. And so I go, trivia is no good unless there's somebody controlling the trivia and making sure that everybody's having fun. So a good friend of mine, John Youngberg from City TV, how I met him when I was doing my cooking shows with him. He's a comedian. He's still a comedian, big all over the world. He's going all over the world, still playing and still acting or doing his act. So he says, I'll do it every single Wednesday for you as long as you want. And so he's been doing it every Wednesday, 7 o'clock. He comes down there. He does all the hosts. He talks. He gets the crowd going. He's still a comedian, so he's still creating jokes, and people love him. And so that's carried on. And we do a prize at the end of this month, May 29th, I believe it is, a trip for two to Las Vegas for the winner of trivia.
Amazing. Like that's creativity for not only smart business to increase your business levels, but that's the reason there, Tony. These are the reasons here that I think people will always be coming back to the place they call home and surround themselves by families. And it's things like this. I really commend you. You're thinking outside the box, doing some pretty cool things. And be honest, no offense, for family, I can say this. But I'm glad the karaoke had seen its time. I mean, there was a few very wrong notes in music that caught my attention there. Many times I was like, "Whoa, that was an interesting sound." I'm not sure what key that was, but it was like an F, So I'm very fascinated and happy to hear that trivia is sort of moving in. And there's other restaurants that have like these trivia sort of like tablets.
Yeah.
And they're fun. But when I walked in and I saw your entire lounge, there wasn't a seat open and people were playing this trivia. I really had to bring that up today and learn more. So thank you for sharing that. Now, this is now the foundation of your grandpa, your dad, and you, right? Serving quality food, fresh, at a reasonable price.
Yeah. I'm
not going to say the brand, but I will anyways. I can't go out and eat fast food anywhere for under $16-17 a person.
Yeah.
And you're offering two can dine, $27.99, and you call it Tuesdays. So what does Tuesdays mean?
Well, because I used to do, you had to buy 2 steaks, or you had to buy 2 shrimp, or you had to buy 2 lasagnas. You couldn't mix match, and I decided it was too much of a pain in the ass. So I said, let's call it Tuesdays now, and so they can choose if they want a steak and a fish and steak and ribs, steak and that's how that Tuesdays came along, and it rhymes with Tuesdays. That's my
So is it only Tuesday only, or is it every day of the week?
Only Tuesdays. Tuesdays. Okay. Yeah.
So make Tuesday your Tuesday, and don't miss out on being able to dine you and someone else for $27.99.
I still count that giving back to the community. At the end of the day, it's full. They're having wine. They're talking. They mention that how to and they still say, how do you do this at this price?
Kidding.
And it's like I work really well with my.
Oh,
be able to do that. Sorry.
It was my fault. Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button there.
Okay. But yeah.
So giving back to the community, I think that I didn't mean to cut you off because that was a beautiful part of it. absolutely. You are definitely giving back to the community when someone can go engage with the entertainment, go there with someone special, enjoy good food. It always goes back and makes me think about, breaking bread and that whole philosophy, right, of sharing a meal with somebody. So I totally and agree 100% about that, giving back to the community by doing just what you're saying and giving food really out of affordable rates. And the fact is what type of points are you getting on 3%? Are you getting your 3% on those Tuesdays? I find that hard to believe.
No. Yeah,
no. So anyways, we're going to start wrapping it up here, Tony. Again, this picture, Tony, your brother, JC, holding up those legendary pictures of your grandpa in the cab, the start off of the company. silverheightsrestaurant.ca. You know what? Harass Tony. He'll get back to you by email. Tony Siwicki at gmail.com. Aren't you glad I gave you personal email? Yeah. And of course, if you ever want to get hold of them, book a reservation, learn more, find out more. Or if you're a restaurant owner looking for support and looking for some assistance, contact Tony at 204-889-7246. Tony, it's been a pleasure. Long overdue. And this is one of the longest shows I've ever had. So I'm very interested in seeing and hearing back the feedback from people who watch this show. I already know there's a lot of people who are going to be watching this after they've done work. I've already had a number of people reach out to me. And it's been my pleasure. I love you. I'm proud of you. And it's just been a great experience so far. So,
Stephen, for a reason. I'm so glad you're doing this. This was something we've been talking for doing this for a long time, and I'm finally hammered me down to come and do it. And now I could talk for another 4 more hours with you right now. This is fun. You made it fun. Right? You made it easy, and I really appreciate what you're doing, and especially with and how you grew this thing, the RCN show. This is fascinating. I know whatever you do, you're going to make it best. So I love that.
Well, I appreciate that. And for all those viewers, as I mentioned, I've taken a bit of a break doing this. I've been doing a lot of research on social media. I've been doing a lot of research of public engagement, kind of like Tony's been doing, with his different styles of events. For me, this show has always been about one thing, for fun. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy telling a story or having my guests tell a story, because to me, that's what it's all about. And moving forward, not because Tony's a paying customer, but I'm going to be proudly supporting marketing and showcasing the Silver Heights in every show. And that's my family. I'm very, very proud of it. And can't wait to stop by the Silver Heights again.
You know where to find me.
I know where to find you. You stay, get some rest. I always worry about your health. And you know what? Try not to work too hard.
Yeah, it is. It's just what I do. I enjoy it.
Okay. You know what, Tony? Before I punch you in off the show, there's one slide I want to share with you really quickly, because I know you believe it in the same way. Your comments about giving back to the community, the topics that we had about supporting families, everything that we just talked about falls in suit with my philosophy. And my philosophy is that today we're building a better tomorrow today. And that's what life's about when it comes to business networking. That's when it comes to everything involved in life and in business, is that we got to plan for the future, start it today for tomorrow. And anyways, I want to share that slide with you because I know you are right in sync with that philosophy. And you know what? You guys have built a very strong tomorrow today. And I think that your grandpa and your father and your whole entire family have done that. And I think you've got great tomorrows ahead of you. So,
well, thank you very much. You as well.
Thank you, Tony. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Cheers,
Bye.
guys.
Well, incredible, emotional, wonderful, you name it. It's all part and parcel. I am Stephen for a reason. I thank you for watching. That was a longer show, but man, was that a special one. And I can't wait to hear your feedback. If you got any feedback for me, hit me up at realtorschoiceproducts@gmail.com. You can call our office line at 204-894-7477 if you've got any questions, tips, hints, want to be a guest on the show, want more information about our network, maybe you want to become an expert and be showcased in front of our thousands of realtors every week for 52 weeks. Not sure. Check us out, realtorschoicenetwork.com. Yeah, website's back. Been dealing with a website that needed some attention and it's still in the process of being improved, but it's still there. And you want to learn more about our programs, you want to learn more about our experts or fantastic companies just like Tony's, check us out, realtorschoicenetwork.com. And with that, I thank you for your time and have a great day. Build a better tomorrow today. Bye.